Index podcast is brought to you by our staking partner, Marinade Finance. Their latest release, Marinade Select, offers a smarter way to stake, featuring a curated set of high-performing mid-size validators handpicked for yield, professionalism, and their role in making Solana faster and more resilient. Learn more and start staking at marinade.finance. Hey everybody, welcome to the Index. I'm your host, Alex Kehaya, and today I've got my good friend, Joanna Zeng, CEO of Soon, which is a decentralized platform built on Solana that uses a decoupled SVM stack to make Web3 transactions faster and more efficient. Joanna, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey. Great to see you. Always a pleasure.
Can we just talk about I know we've had you on the show before. There's a lot of info around what decoupled SVM is, but for listeners, just very quickly, what is decoupled SVM?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So what we've been innovating on is the process of decoupling execution layer from the consensus layer of Solana and be able to modularize the stack to extend Solana to, different ecosystems, including right now we have done this in reality, right? Like on mainnet live on 3 existing EVM chains, base layers. So we got SVM roll up on top of ETH 1. That's the first one. And then that was launched back in January. And then we had one version on BNB, Binance Smart Chain. And then the last one, more recently, we launched the mainnet of Soonbase, which is the Solana SVM roll up on top of base. Yeah. So the idea is really, we wanted to make sure in terms of the user adoption, in terms of the builder culture, like we've seen a lot of new narratives, new development happening on the Solana ecosystem, and we want to make sure that's the gold standard that gets spread around the ecosystem, around various ecosystems, just much like what we've seen, with Ethereum maybe 4 years ago when they started to kind of red pill the rest of the ecosystem, making everything EVM standard. Yeah, so that's the beginning of this journey.
Yeah, and we met kind of right when you guys were starting through the SVM community chat, which is something that I started when we started ABK Labs, my other company. One thing I like, what we're all about is just build together, right? We believe open source software is the purest form of innovation and the greatest professional legacy we can leave to the world. And it was one of the big reasons why I came to Solana was because Tolly back in the early days was shipping open source. All the guys there were huge open source maxis. And one of the reasons why we're advisors to Soon is because you guys share that ethos. And I think what you're doing is kind of a great example of the benefits of open source and creating that composability and like leveraging composability. So you've decoupled some of the best parts of the Solana virtual machine so that it's not just using Solana, the blockchain underneath, but you're able to provide this like execution as a service for other layer ones where they can benefit from the speed of Solana, but still settle things down to their layer one blockchain. So it's Ethereum, Base, and BNB. Can you talk about like a little bit more about this execution as a service idea and how it works? Like, what's the model? How does that actually work?
Yeah, great question. I think maybe just kind of borrow your analogy, right? Like the open sourcing technology is what's driving our like the mission that we're embarking on, right? So, like everybody knows what Apple's iOS, right? Like how that works is you have to buy a expensive iPhone. And then you all of a sudden gets access to the iOS operating system itself, but also the popular apps on Apple, right? So what we're doing is we're going to break out of the silo that we only see in Web 2. It's very much, tied to the apps are tied to the ecosystem that they're native to. But in this case, we're basically open sourcing the operating system of Solana, right, if you may, and put it on top of other ecosystems so other users can also get access to these great high quality dApps. But let me be clear, what's the benefit to Solana, right? Because we do have a lot of early backers from the Solana ecosystem, including, Totally Lily, right, from the foundation side, and guys like you, right, who have, subscribed to our IDO early on. And the reason is we're also benefiting the Solana ecosystem by bringing this liquidity from ETH liquidity, Binance Smart Chain liquidity, and base chain liquidity into the SVM ecosystem, right? That's something that's entirely new to the Solana ecosystem today, right? It's a very different vibes and very I kind of interacted with different ecosystem these days, and it's still clear to me the divide between the user side and the builder sides are very, very huge. So we're basically kind of bridging the EVM and the SVM ecosystem and really harnessing that unifying experience.
Yeah, while we're talking about that and the specific chains that you guys have deployed on, I think it makes sense to talk about just the journey here, trying to figure out if this is a good idea or not. Get to product market fit. And what has that been like? When you started, you had a bunch of hypotheses of the value you could bring, and how has that played out? And do you feel like you guys have reached that product market fit?
That's a great question, because I think we had this conversation before I come on the show before, and I definitely felt like there's a lot of learning, even just since last time we talked. We had some theories, on the product market fit for the stack. And I think, honestly, it was not exactly what we had planned on, right? We thought that it will be the perfect stack for any AI consumer app chains, right? Given the current stacks choices that you have on the market are OP Stack and Arbitrum Orbit. Both are, pretty high latency, right? Varying between 400 milliseconds to even 2 seconds, right? We're reducing that down to 50. And the throughput side, obviously, is also night and day given the EVM, SVM tech stack. But that, of course, was part of the product market fit. We did launch 6 chains, right, based on that app chain thesis. But as I mentioned, I think as we starting to grow, the real PMF, the real opportunity really emerged where these EVM-based chains are seeking the cross-chain development opportunities by putting these SVM rollups on top of their existing base layers. Not only it's consuming their DA, right, but also basically also providing the technical improvement that unlocks a lot of these new use cases that just weren't previously available. But I think the main real benefit is the ecosystem side, right, where we can instantly give them boost on the ecosystem side with our 40 applications already live on the Zoom mainnet, right? So these developers just develop once and then deploy everywhere, right? So it's kind of a win-win for both, for the chain side and then for the developer side, and for the users too, right? So the users of Base can now get access to the Solana-level experience that they previously would not be able to get access to. They would have to bridge out of their ecosystem for, right? So in general, I think it's just.
So does that mean that users on Base can use Solana applications that are connected to Soon?
Yeah, exactly. So what it would do is essentially we have these these really high frequency trading platforms that the Base users can access to, right? And then we build this the ideal is to have very seamless interop, right, between the various chains that we build. So you still have a unified user experience in that one app. On the app level, you don't have to hop around different chains for the liquidity venues. So it's a
very cool
10 solver chain abstracted user experience.
So we've got the Soon execution layer as a service layer, right? And it's abstracting away the need for apps to really know what chain they're talking to. They can just talk to Soon, and Soon will route, depending on the token that's being sent by the user, will make things happen. So what I was asking about is, it seems logical to me that this would also enable for trading applications cross-network trading. So I want to buy ETH and I want to trade it for something on Base or something on BNB, or think of another chain that you guys might support. Is that possible? Do you guys have a way for your Soon stack to like talk to the different Soon layers and make these kinds of executions happen that are like cross multiple different networks?
Yeah, so that's actually another realization. I think throughout the development journey, we started like as very much an infra project, right? As you know, and we talked about kind of horizontally scale Solana over multiple networks, right? And in that process, kind of working with Anza on like figuring out how to add merkleization to EVM and horizontal scaling, all of that. But also what we try to solve for at the end of the day is like we wanted to prove out the use case for SVM chains, right? So that's like one thing that we started experimenting with, and we just launched this new product called Simp for Fun. It's a vertical scaling, if you may. We found this kind of PMF that's missing in the Solana ecosystem that no one has tackled yet. And we decided to just build this first party dApp, right? And what it does is really kind of to your point, right? Like bringing the various ecosystem together, but in a very like the most commonly, I would say, agreed upon use case, right? The trading experience, right? So what it really does is it provides this copy trading experience with a live streaming feature. So like I think the best way to describe it is like a Twitch for traders. So it's actually meant for like normies, not your degens, not your Web3 people, right? So bringing these Web2 folks that are streamers, gamers, what have you, we have this like a add-on web browser extension that they can click on. It's already embedded in like Twitch and Sidekick, couple like live streaming platforms that are popular. And then you can just follow the smart money, right? That's on Drift. That's the current platform that we support. So as a unsophisticated or a new Web3 trader, you just copy trade the smart money in the most kind of like heavily used Solana ecosystem, right? So that's really the best way that we can think of to onboard new people, from Web 2 to Web 3. And it doesn't require like the app scaling. It doesn't require the education, right? It's very kind of easy one-click deployment, and it's happening in the Web 2 portals that they're already familiar with. So we thought about this as a new way to vertically scale Solana, right? By building these dApps, and we're also very much looking into like incubating new apps in the trading space because I think at the end of the day, everyone agreed that basically trading or DeFi is the one use case that high performance chains are made for. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's the biggest one, right? And it's the kind of thing that scales so quickly from a revenue standpoint. And this is why like Pump Fund went from 0 to 700 million in a year. It's like mind blowing. And I'm curious. So you mentioned Drift. You've got Simp for Fun, which is a copy trading app.
Mm-hmm.
Is Drift's the protocol that's allowing the trading to happen, and Simp for Fun is the thing that's like abstracting all the crypto native stuff and making it easy for like a Web 2 customer to just like do some copy trading. Is Drift operating on all the supported SVM chains? And so that kind of stuff, so like SVM Stack chains, like Base, BNB, and Ethereum? Or is that, am I correct there? Is it like working across all those chains?
Yeah. So I know there's a lot of things to unpack there, right? So the main thing I would say, like at this stage, a lot of this is also kind of future state, right? But the current phase is we run this app on top of Drift in Solana, right? So
on the mainnet. Okay, cool.
On the mainnet, yeah.
Yep.
Because as I mentioned before, it's more of a application, verticalization, right? Like it's a way to,
I got you. I see what you mean now. Yeah.
To really like add new use cases that we see, would be popular on every SVM chain. So we're going to start with Solana, and then it's going to gradually phase to the soon base, like other chains, right, that use SVM as a core technology. So it's a first party dApp that we developed that is benefiting the Solana ecosystem as a start. And then, we'll gradually kind of move to our own chains as well. And the Drift participation here is essentially like we work very closely with them, developing these tracking and analytics mechanisms so we can start looking at the addresses on Drift, right? It's an open sourced platform, but you still have to really like dig into the actual wallet addresses to figure out who are the market makers. Like for instance, like if you're just only following market makers, it would never make money, right? Because they just get in, they don't get out. And then obviously the strategy is also different from like a retail perspective. So we filter those guys out, and we like really build this, AI algorithm around it. So they actually focus on the ones that can be used for the copy trading, mechanism, right? And then so basically what we're doing with them is like we follow the smart money, the addresses that they provide, that we can all jointly look at are good examples for people to kind of set up their trading strategy towards. And then we build the actual application, the copy trading platform itself. And then the additional, like as I mentioned, this live trade, it's called live trade feature, right? That is allowing people to use this live streaming feature to further kind of familiarize themselves with the entire trading experience.
So I want to back up here and just ask, how long has the company been in existence? How long have you guys been building?
Yeah. We only been around since May, so like a year now. But last May. So
yeah. So I bring that up for everybody because if it sounds like they've built a lot, shipping a lot of stuff,
we have.
True.
Yeah.
And I just want to highlight that like these are one of the hardest, fastest shipping teams. Period.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. I was thinking about this on the drive over to my office today. We've seen a lot of announcements coming up to accelerate, right? About different things like Steppen from Squads, he and his team, they just launched Altitude, which is like a crypto native bank for businesses essentially, where you can use stables and like earn yield and do everything self-custody and on chain. It's like a dream come true for me as a business owner, especially I work in crypto. That's just one example, but I feel like I've seen like every day, like 5 different announcements from different teams that are just like Iron Chain today, who got bought by MoonPay recently. They just made a big announcement about a partnership with MasterCard. So you can use stable coins with a MasterCard card. There is the velocity of innovation and development on Solana in particular, and the kinds of people it attracts kind of like that can execute at that level just blows my mind.
Right.
There's so much talent. And you guys building this thing at the intersection of AI and trading, I think is, you're really on to something. I think that this is still just the beginning, and the intersection of AI and crypto, which I call open intelligence, which is open source AGI on crypto rails and trading, right? Like that's kind of where everything sort of starts, and where there's a ton of volume and a big economy. Internet capital markets.
Yeah.
I think that we are on the verge of something with AI on chain on Solana that's going to be really, really massive. I think maybe I'm just like full of hot air, but I think it could eclipse like the entire market cap of crypto and including Bitcoin. I think open intelligence, open source AGI on crypto rails can do that. And I think a lot of that is going to happen on Solana. Or some version of that.
Yeah.
I think it's just interesting that you guys entered this realm with this copy trading app that uses AI. it's very timely.
Yeah.
So, and it's super early. Like people think it's not early because of how fast things are moving, but they just are moving really fast. And it's still really early.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like, the builder culture on Solana is just so, as I mentioned, right? Like I went to like FarCon recently and talking to folks there, and it seems very different, right? Like the focus on like, the vibes versus money is real, right? And a lot of this has to do with also like, I think for us, product market fit is a must before we even think about like launching a token, right? So, it's funny to say that, like, cause yeah, like that's what it should be, but it's not really the trend today. Like, unfortunately, right? People launching token before they even have a mainnet or even have a testnet. So, we've been doing these like, product market like research, what could, become the trend, right? Like, in terms of like the PMF, I think we have reached that with the Soon Stack on that EVM, SVM crossover effect, because we're getting chased by all these EVM chains now, like to spin up the SVM version for them, right? After this announcement with Coinbase and Binance Smart Chain, like I think we're the only project I can think of that got like official endorsement from Anatoly, Jesse, and CZ. Like it's actually very hard to put it, not lightly. So I think now we realize the line between like infra and the app builder is really blurred, right? Like we're looking at these really successful projects like Hyperliquid, right? Prime example of that. They built the killer use case first, right? And then they decided to build the infrastructure to support it. And, there's just a lot of other examples that I can name here, but the main idea is like we wanted to be a pragmatic builder that really focus on like killer use case and apps first, right? And that prove out the existence of the infrastructure itself, right? The infrastructure or SVM itself is a means to the end. And and I think that's where that vision really kind of come together when you look at like what is actually trending today is like RWA, right? It's Solana as a prime example of that bring these US stocks, gold, right? All these rare metals like on chain, right? We are actually in the phase of potentially saying that DeFi can kill TriFi, right? That's crazy. I mean, like the infra was just not there all these years, right? 10 years for the past decade that we've been dreaming this. So now it's finally here and RWA assets are coming on chain. Then what can we do as a infra and app builder is like we need to build the best tools to onboard these Web2 traditional stock traders, right? Traditional like as mentioned like the Twitch streamers, right? Like people who are interested in and dabbling into Web3 but like didn't have the tools to do so. So that's where this all come together. I think it links everything together. What we're doing is that like we wanted to make sure that the SVM bottleneck, right, is being built out everywhere across the ecosystem. It's being removed from the ecosystems. And then because we really think like the high performance chains is what it's going to be required to onboard these Web2 people.
I'm really curious, we talk about product market fit a lot. And I saw a tweet from, I think Logan at Frictionless Capital, about how he can't wait for the day that like every pitch deck he has or gets from a team is all about their traction and like real KPIs and not about like what KOLs they have. I'm curious like what your traction looks like. And, obviously we know a lot about you got these endorsements, you got these chains shipped, people are coming to you for more soon SVM stack based chains. You got this app that you just launched. What metrics are you measuring? I'm just curious for like other founders, right, that are trying to figure out like what is important to measure. in this space. What are you guys actually measuring to the extent that you can share? What are those numbers? I'm curious.
Yeah. I think for us, it's always been user adoption first, right? So any metrics that can refer back to like the number of real users is what matters to us, right? So we actually haven't done like really that much of a TVL campaigns. We only started doing that recently because now, the focus, as mentioned, right, it's like more kind of doubling down on DeFi use case, right? So we realized that's absolutely like a precursor, right, to having a really healthy DeFi ecosystem. We need to have these like kind of co-starting capital, seed capital. So so up to that point, it was very much like just the number of users. It's based on like transaction volume. It's based on like unique wallet addresses, like the normal metrics. And then we're doing this by not only kind of incentivizing, but also kind of like looking at the curating the list of applications that's live on chain, right? That focuses on the usage of the chain, right? So things like DPIN, things like PayFi, DeFi itself, like these are the ones that we pour a lot of effort on and incubated, 20 teams out of the 40 teams that are live on mainnet right now, on the Su mainnet. So as I mentioned, I think half of the existing applications are incubated by us, right? So we did like that over the course of 10 months, just spending a lot of time in various countries, various regions, right? These hacker houses to do quality control and like making sure that these developers, these founders can build something that can, inspire that usage. So now I think we have a bit of a kind of a mature ecosystem. Like we have all the major categories covered. That's when we start doing the TVL campaign and start doing the collaboration with like Eigen, for instance. We're doing this big campaign with them to give people like double farming opportunities to get both like the Sun token and the Eigen token. And then I think the other thing that's like really different from a GTM perspective is we did a NFT mint, right? That initially I think people see it as like another incentive campaign, right, to get people to start using the chain. But I think it quite quickly became a community movement, right? Where like we have the 7,000 participants in this NFT round, in this community round, that are degens themselves, are very like active traders themselves. So they start using these new applications, these killer apps being developed soon. So whenever I go to a developer, that's my best pitch is, hey, we actually have existing, active like 7,000 users waiting to use your app, right? That's the best thing a chain can bring to you. And these are beta users and like alpha testers, what have you, to really like help out the development process of the applications. So I think those guys we were able to activate, quickly, and they started bringing in their friends and their users. So so I think that's how we kind of really snowball the traction from that point out.
That's awesome. Thanks for that. So we're kind of at the top of the show here. What have I not asked you that I should have asked?
Let's see.
Or that you wanted to talk about in this update?
Yeah, no, I think we really talked a lot about the latest development for, our product roadmap. One thing I really wanted to hit on is just going back to the community driven sentiment, right? Like how, we also know like the community has been waiting very patiently for TGE, and, we're working on that. Something that I think it's exciting is we have a lot of new opportunities for the community to participate, pre-TGE, that are low effort, right? So we have a community campaign that's called like Red Pill Cabal. That's for those who don't know, right? So we basically run this meme of like matrix theme, right? Red pill, blue pill, for anyone that decided to choose the right path. We basically like have this, like a community portal, right? You can log into it and then you can kind of connect your X account, your Twitter account, and anything that you tweet with the tagline, soon as the red pill, right? That's the tagline, will get selected and ranked against other community members. And, the top ones will receive like, token allocations. We did reserve up to 51% for the community. So yeah, so we'll continue to kind of roll out these, kind of like a easy or low effort type of like incentivized campaigns. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that out. We've been seeing a lot of new community members coming in from emerging markets. That's the other thing that I was really excited about, especially in like Korea, in Japan, Southeast Asia. And we have a huge event coming up next week, which you're a part of, Ms. Kehaya. We wanted to make sure that people in the US can also participate in all our events coming up at the Accelerate. Really just a lot of hypes coming up in the next couple weeks.